Coming up next on MCN, the McAllen Cable Network, the Development Corporation of McAllen from McAllen City Hall. The Development Corporation appointed by the City Commission is charged with making recommendations on how to use money that's been raised from the half-cent sales tax that was approved by McAllen voters on May the 3rd, 1997. The recommendation is made to the City Commission. They make the final decision. And now, the Development Corporation of McAllen.
Okay, we're convening the Development Corporation of McAllen. We have a quorum. We have Trey, and who else is on with us? Okay. Well, at any rate, according to the agenda, the first item is to discuss and consider the resolution. It's actually authorizing the issuance of the sales tax revenue bonds for the purpose of refinancing the Simon's Parking Garage project.
Draw proposed the Board of Commissioners, correct?
No. Right, and that's to refinance the 2016 bond issue in taking into consideration that the COVID effect on sales at the La Plaza Mall went below the 2014 levels, and so we're trying to stretch out those payments in consideration of that. And so that this would be a refunding of those to stretch out the debt service requirements. The cost of that is going to be paid by the mall, a little over $1 million to cover the cost of issuance and that interest for that intervening period. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, then the resolution would be to approve that, authorize the issuance and all the things that the lawyers put in there that are required by the tax code.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. A motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Now, item 2 is I think it's supposed to be two things, and this is the Angela Lewis Bridge project financing of $24 million to finance the partial construction of the new Angela Lewis Bridge. In the first one, I think, is approving the amendment to this November 23rd, 2020 bond ordinance resolution authorizing issuance to establish the right to provide for changing the lien provisions in that document. And so the first one would be the amendment, and the second item would be actually appointing the individuals who would have authority to do that, which I think is the mayor, city manager, and assistant city manager. Is that correct?
Noel?
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, my name is Noel Valdez, for the record, with the law firm of McCall, Parkerson, Horton. Our pleasure to serve as bond counsel to the city and to the corporation. Back in November, the corporation approved the issuance of up to $24 million for purposes of making bridge project improvements. In that particular resolution, the corporation delegated to certain individuals the ability to approve final terms of the bonds. The bonds have not been priced, they have not been issued. This amendment, what it does is it goes back and amends the November resolution to allow for those designated officials, Mayor, that you just mentioned, to also have the ability to issue the debt or these sales tax revenue bonds as subordinate lien bonds, subordinate to your outstanding first lien bonds that you have outstanding. Ann, do you want to speak to that?
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, President, members of the board, the reason that we are recommending that the city and the Development Corp consider this amendment, the reason that we are considering the city and the Development Corp consider this amendment is that the city, in being very proactive, applied for a TIFIA loan to secure potentially low interest cost financing relative to this project. Well, TIFIA, if you are able to gain approval and secure financing, they will take the debt on a senior and a subordinate basis with the exact same interest rate. And so there's no cost if you get a TIFIA loan, to do it on a subordinate basis. So we felt like since there would be no cost to the city on the interest rate, it would help to preserve future flexibility for the senior lien and, like I said, position you with no additional cost. At this particular time, we don't know if the loan has been approved and will be getting TIFIA funding, but we believe that it's an appropriate time to embed that flexibility and position the city and the Development Corp to the extent that happens, we would be able to move quickly.
Great. Any questions? We'll do this in two motions. The first motion will be the resolution to amend the resolution adopted November 23rd, 2020, to provide for the delegate certain officials the authority to select the lien priority of the bonds, and we would need that, right? Have a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
A second.
Second, any further discussion? Hear none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. The second is a resolution of the Development Corp of McAllen, amending the resolution of corporation that they also adopted on November 23rd, 2020, which is the same group of people, and which is to further delegate this to certain officials the authority to select the lien priority for the bond. And those officials, I think, are the City Commission, and authorizes the mayor, city manager, assistant city manager, finance director, and city secretary to execute on behalf of the city all documents necessary. So I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. I think unless we have any questions of bond council, they can catch the early plane back or whatever. Thanks, Ann, thank you.
Was that,
Thank you.
Mayor, was that the Development Court motion?
That was a development.
So I'll have,
I'll make the motion.
I'll make the motion and then Sylvia will second. Okay,
For the development court.
just for the record.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried.
Okay.
Trey, are you on?
He's
Yes, I'm on, Mayor.
He was muted.
I presume you voted aye on all those that were required for development corp?
Yes, I
record.
voted aye.
Okay,
Great.
thank you. Okay, that's that item. The next one is a budget amendment for the Development Corps capital projects rollover. And I think we have 5 of those. They have McAllen Affordable Homes, the tennis court, that's parks, I guess, the Census Media campaign, and then Public Works has 3 projects that they're wanting to roll over. And then the other one is a CARE Act transfer to the Development Corps for small business, rent, and Wi-Fi. Is that correct, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, sir. I just want to point out one thing, Mayor. Most of those are just basically rollovers that you're used to seeing. The first one, though, is part of the action that you took in the summer, where we all agreed that once we received funding, we would transfer the Development Corporation money back for the expenses that we had on the projects for CARES. And so we had budgeted 5.4 million, but we in fact spent 4,865,587. That's what that number represents. So it's going from the general fund back to the Development Corporation.
In my understanding is some of those funds then that are not being sent back will stay with like Affordable Homes to continue those programs since we're still under COVID?
Right. Some of those are still working, but this is the money that actually came from the Development
Right.
Corp going back to the Development Corp.
Right. And so all these are continuations of those projects, but with the transfer back to us, kind of as a loan, if you will, not quite that, but a loan from the Development Corps, expecting the CARES Act reimbursements from the county.
Yeah. It was a direct funding, but we all committed to putting the money
Yeah.
back.
Right.
And so that's what we're doing from the general fund.
There's a few that are new, right? I mean, it seems like on the CDBG side, there's the group living facility of 250,000. Do we know what that is? Or
Is Yvette here? Come on up, Yvette.
I think the rest are pretty self-explanatory, but the group living facility of 250,000, I was wanting a little better explanation of what that was.
Residential family structure, that we would have the ability to house patients undergoing COVID treatment. So we would look to either purchase an existing apartment complex, and if somebody needs to be housed aside from their families as they're undergoing treatment, we would have the ability to house them.
So would this be for the patients or for the families? Or
It would be for the patients.
do we have a property in mind, or is it just a?
We're still kind of looking at it. We've seen other communities do that, and we think it's an appropriate way to use these funds.
I think it's a great idea. It's just, finding the right spot, the right property, the right price. I think it might be a little challenging, but I think you're definitely using the money for the right reasons here. COVID related, it's definitely, in that wheelhouse there. Thanks for that explanation.
And I had a question on the Wi-Fi. We're still continuing to fund that as needed, right, for additional Wi-Fi hotspots?
No, well, is Robert here? That project is complete, Mayor, and so we have expended all that we intended to expend.
If we, I know we're still negotiating with AEP a little bit, and I talked to them recently. If we found the need, I mean, one of the things we were asking for is how effective the program's been. We think it's very, very effective. But if there were certain areas we weren't either supplying service to, or there were areas where it needed upgrade because of lack of penetration, that we'd still go through with that. Is that still an ongoing program?
At the most, Mayor, we have probably available poles that we could hit is probably about 80 left over. I haven't overlaid that with the county because the county started deploying theirs, so I have to go back and meet with the county. But last time we looked, after we did the 1,000 poles, we had about 80 poles left that we could possibly hit, other than negotiating with AEP to see if we can get additional.
Okay, could you give us a final report then, and then if there is additional need, let us know in that report?
Sure.
Okay, is that okay? Okay, any other questions? Then we'd entertain a motion to approve the budget amendment for the Development Corporation capital projects rollover.
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Next item is the chamber, right?
Correct.
Chamber Innovation Grants.
Right, Mayor, so we wanted to take advantage of the fact we're having a meeting. As you can see, I have a letter here from the president of the chamber, Steve Elanias, dated January the 18th, and he's here to make a request of the Development Corporation.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about the Innovation Grant Program. This is, with everything that's gone on the last 10 months with the pandemic, so obviously small businesses have been stressed in a lot of different ways. Just to give you some figures, over 25% of small businesses reported that sometime during the last 10 months they had to shut down temporarily. Obviously, hardest hits have been restaurants, hotels, and retail businesses. 4 million small businesses took out SBA loans with no clear idea or clarification if those loans were going to be forgiven. So it gives you an idea of some of the challenges that they had. With COVID-19, we saw a massive beginning of additional consolidation of businesses, and business consolidation continues to go at a rapid pace. The number of small retailers have declined by 20% over the last 10 years. And the U.S. federal government spends about $4 billion on small business programs, as much as what they spend on a single attack sub. And so even though it's foundationally is critical to the success of every community, a lot of times you see a lot of lip service paid to assisting and helping small businesses. One of the things that we did at the Chamber was to launch an innovation grant program back in 2007. And with that program, we've been able to work with over 160 startups in McAllen to get their idea up and into the marketplace. When we went through the budget process in August, if you recall, there was cuts that we took at the Chamber along with other organizations. And at the time, the mayor said, come back in January, let's have a conversation about what programs you'd like to see. And this is, I think this is the one critical program that I would like to see funded that helps with startups and people who have cool ideas. And so just to give you an idea, I always find it better to do show and tell. So here is a local entrepreneur who came up with a device that allows you to put on any size screw that will hold the screw in place, and it's called Screw Claw. And this is a local entrepreneur that has had great success in launching that business. And so we were really
Is it for
excited.
left-handers too?
It's left-handed, right-handed, Mayor. Those of you who like to drink beer or margaritas, this is an entrepreneur who came up with lipstick strips that you can use to dress your beer or your margarita glass without having to dip it in the salt or whatever you're going to do. So it's basically a edible strip that you put around the edge of a beer or your glass, which is really kind of cool. And this is the one that's called grill grenades. And this was developed by an entrepreneur, biodegradable products these grill grenades will burn for about 40 minutes, so it helps with lighting your grill, or your fireplace, or your fire pit. So just another great example of an entrepreneur.
They really work. I used one.
So
It scares the heck out of your neighbors too.
Yeah.
Be careful.
So that's just an example of 3 of the local entrepreneurs we have in our community that we are able to help through this innovation grant program. And so our request is for $50,000. You have at what was passed out to you, the program and how it works. It's very similar to what we did with the COVID-19 grant program. We don't pay directly to the business or the startup. We pay third party, so if they need to have a prototype developed or marketing feasibility done, whatever they need done, we don't pay directly to them, we pay to a third party. We found that way we continue to keep people focused on their outcomes in terms of what they want to do. We do these grants up to $10,000 increments, but most of them fall somewhere between $5,000 to $7,500 in terms of grants. And what we have found over the years is that they become very efficient. You know, when you're working with startups, they recognize that they don't have a lot of cash to burn. And so they're very efficient with how they want the money spent in terms of moving their idea forward. So I'm here today for that request, and would be happy to try to answer any questions that you might have about the program.
I had one question before that. We didn't expend all the COVID for existing businesses, right? Did we run into some?
We did, Mayor. On those grants that we were given, we ended up spending about almost all of it. I think there's maybe $3,000 or $4,000 left that wasn't spent.
But you think the need's been met, at least for now?
For now, I think so. It'll be interesting to see what the federal government comes up with its second round of the relief package that the Biden administration is working on. We don't know.
And now the chamber, this 50,000 goes straight to the program. You don't take any overhead?
We don't take any overhead. It goes straight to the program, it goes straight out to the entrepreneurs. What we do is we do a panel of judges. It's like, and it's similar to Shark Tank, but we call it Dolphin Tank. We're not as harsh with the entrepreneurs and their ideas. And so it's just a great way to kind of vet their idea, to have conversations with their idea. Surprisingly, our biggest growth has been in food products. And we've had some really cool ideas. Folks have gotten on the shelves at H-E-B, keto-friendly products, a lot of different things that people have been able to bring to the marketplace with food products, which when we started this back in 2007, I never would have thought food products would be one of the key things.
And you're still providing some services outside the money to them about?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we do Idea Place, I&E Network. What we've tried to do is create an ecosystem that will help people be successful, that they have a network of friends and entrepreneurs that are wanting, to share their experiences. And again, it's a little money. It's not a lot of money, but it's a little money, and it makes a huge difference.
Steve, as a follow-up to the mayor's comment about small business grants, the ones that were done previously and that mostly fully funded already. I know you mentioned that the need's been met, but I guess our experience on PPP 2.0 is that we're seeing some activity, not nearly as much as the first iteration of it, but that to me tells me that there's at least need from the small business community that can tell us that they reduced revenue by 25% or more, right? Which is the requirement now. So based on that, wouldn't you think that there'd be some additional need that we could possibly try to meet?
I think so, Commissioner. I think
Okay.
but I think we want to see what happens with PPP2 and what the impact is. And that may be a conversation in 2 months, 3 months, we come back and have and look at, because by then you'll see who has processed through that loan application with the SBA. And then I think we may have a better idea of where money can be used to impact the local small businesses.
Well, Stephen, what's the purpose of disqualifying, I guess, individuals with misdemeanors? I understand felonies, but misdemeanors.
Yeah, well, we've been, let me put it this way, Commissioner. I don't want to have a story where somebody's done something that, would be an embarrassment to the chamber or to the city. Say, why would you fund something like that? So typically what we see in terms of criminal records is somebody who was arrested smoking pot back when they were in college, and it's a 10-year, 15-year, 20-year conviction. And so those type of things we don't really pay attention.
I guess the concern a lot of the times as a defense attorney, and I guess Joaquin, the prosecutor, we know that a lot of the young individuals that have a lot of potential, they'll go take a little deal that way because they have no money to be able to defend themselves. So I think there's a possibility that we're kicking out a lot of people that can have a lot of potential for just the mere fact that they may have a little misdemeanor.
So what we're looking for is the assault, the theft.
Okay, well, exactly, and I would tend to agree with that.
Yeah, and so we put that in there just as just kind of the base, I guess the floor in terms of what we're looking at. But what we really look at to see is if they've done something in terms of theft, embezzlement, assault, those type of crimes.
I would definitely agree with that. But when it comes to just a regular Class A or Class B misdemeanor,
We have not, I will tell you on the history of this, we have not disqualified somebody because of misdemeanor.
I would hope that you'll revisit that a little
Yeah,
bit.
sure.
Maybe it's okay. I know cities around us do that, and I would think it would be appropriate for us to do that. If you want to entertain a motion to approve?
The motion is to approve the grant
Yeah.
as presented? Second.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussions?
Real quick, since he started it, on the application, do you ask if they've ever been on deferred adjudication? On those misdemeanors?
You get into those issues.
So what we do, once they go through the process, right? And so let's say that you went through the process, you were approved, you went through the judges, and you were approved.
Yeah.
And we were ready to, before we finally do the final agreement to fund you, we do a criminal background check and a credit check. And that's when we look for if there's any serious issues as far as criminal background, or if somebody has, filed bankruptcy recently or has outstanding credit card charges or those type of things that I think would be a disqualifier.
Well, I asked because deferred adjudication sometimes or will end up in a probationary case that can be dismissed.
Yeah.
And so they try to answer the question, have you been convicted? Well, the answer is no, I have not been convicted, but nevertheless have been on probation, for deferred.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking, are you really meaning just conviction? There's a final conviction in the case that wasn't dismissed or acquitted, through other means like a deferred adjudication?
Commissioner, we haven't come across those yet.
Right.
I mean, it hasn't come up yet in terms of it when we've done the criminal
But as
background.
phrase, it's just a conviction, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because in deferred adjudication, somebody else has already looked at it and think that people qualify for that, and they met the conditions of it, so why would we disqualify somebody because of that?
Okay, I'm just asking.
Okay, I haven't had any deferred adjudications. Okay, we have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
It'd be nice if we had a report on your, the original existing business program. I don't know if we ever closed it out or anything, but that'd
On
be nice.
the $5,000 grant program?
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the last one was in November, right? That we provided kind of a final update.
Yep.
I think that sounds right.
I can come back. I'd be happy to come back and
okay.
provide you a final update on the grant program.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Next, we need to go into executive session?
No, sir.
We don't.
That's all we got.
So that's the end of the Development Corps meeting. We will stand adjourned. Trey, and who else is on? You can stay on if you want. Now we're going to do a workshop, or we'll watch you fade away on the screen. So now we want to convene the workshop? Okay. Okay. And so now we're going to convene the workshop for the City Commission for January 25th, 2021. Any questions to ask staff we discussed at the meeting?
Just a quick question on the lease for the subway. I didn't see where there was a minimum rent required. I just wanted to ask if that was in the lease somewhere, or is it just a percentage of rent of gross sales? That's all I got.
Oh, you got the answer? Oh, go get it.
Yeah, we'll get the
Okay.
answer first.
Then I had a question for Yvette. Well, she's probably going to say it. What's Project Blue, but don't tell me now. And the second one, I think you said you had quite a few. You had 2,772,000. And I didn't know, like, if the funds had been, which one you were switching, which one were exhausted. It was kind of hard to follow that. I mean, I can't give you specifics because there's like 15 projects, I think. And it just was hard to follow whether or not, where did all those come from? It's quite a bit of money. And we had a lot of their we had more money in there and completed the projects. And I didn't see those in finish outs during the year, or whether we would have or not, because it might have been under the bidding requirements, so.
What item is that, Mayor?
Yeah, what item is that?
That was probably B, 4B. Budget amendment for
Oh,
capital
the
road
road.
projects. It was really hard to follow.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, do we do any new projects under there, or it was just hard to follow again?
Okay.
And that's all I have. Anybody else have any questions? Okay.
So Mayor, on the rest, obviously, we've got a pretty good list here on the meeting.
Yeah.
We put the list together before we decided to move Development Corp to 4 o'clock, and that's why we have so many.
Right.
But we'll take, 1 or 2 in the amount of time that we have.
Yeah.
Whatever priority you want.
I would definitely like to do the overview of scope of work, have that postponed, because I think that's a whole workshop in and of itself. And then the code enforcement pandemic operations, I don't know if we want to, that's a little bit more complicated. Anything easier, Roy, what would you suggest?
Yeah, I would suggest that we do the report on the parade and
Yes.
possibly on the city charter, since that's a time issue.
Okay, well, let's do those first, too. Okay, parade. Where's Joe Vera here? Oh, he is. I didn't recognize you without your lid. They call it a lid? What was they called? A beret?
No, it's the nose.
What do you call that, Joe? What kind of hat you wear? Is that a beret or a lid or?
Whatever you want to call it, man.
Okay.
Mayor, Commissioners, we're pleased to present the 2020 McAllen Holiday Parade presented by HEB and powered by Bert Ogden Dealerships. Recap report. Back in September, we were here. We asked you to consider new ideas for a reimagined, recreated, and represented McAllen Holiday Parade. We believe that we were very successful in the reimagined interactive 2020 McAllen Holiday Parade, and we want to show you a recap on that in some video. So our main objective was that we did not want to cancel Christmas this past year. And so we looked at some different ways of doing that, and some of the goals that we had were that we do a parade production for television broadcast only with no spectators, that there'd be virtual activation with grandstand cutouts and those type of interactive activities, that we implement a new safety measures for the parade, that we also do floats on parade, and that we increase the TV broadcast reach in traditional and new markets due to the new format we had for the parade. So here we have a video clip of the parade that we had this year.
The 2020 McAllen Holiday Parade, presented by HEB and powered by Burt Ogden Fiesta Dealerships, was a parade like no other for a year like no other. It was a new interactive virtual experience where the community could reconnect while socially distanced, and where McAllen and valued partners reimagined new traditions to join holiday favorites at the largest illuminated holiday and helium balloon parade in Texas. Families watched the parade live on December 5th from the comfort of home, and then the 4-time best parade in the world premiered again in 83 U.S. television markets on Christmas Day. The parade was made possible by an enhanced health safety program, requiring participant screenings, sanitizing stations, and mandatory mask and social distancing signage. Life-size sponsor cutouts appeared throughout the broadcast to add new brand recognition and connectivity. The parade opened with an all-new musical extravaganza that premiered the new South Pole Anthem with choreographed dancers and fireworks over McAllen Convention Center's illuminated Oval Park at the South Pole of Texas. Off a magical winter night hosted by Mario Lopez, telenovela star Julian Gil, and parkour phenom Lorena Abreu. The parade featured special appearances by football legends Drew Pearson, Tony Hill, and more. For the first time ever, our sponsors gave the community an opportunity to nominate the true heroes of 2020, frontline workers, and we all cheered them on from home when they marched in the parade as official Grand Marshals of 2020.
My experience as a Grand Marshal at the parade was very, very rewarding. I was actually able to get on a float and, to actually see like the snow flying over, and just knowing that, we were part of this because of what we were doing and everything that we're trying to do for our community to try to keep us safe. It was a wonderful experience to be a Grand Marshal for the parade.
My experience of being a Grand Marshal of the parade was fantastic to see others in not just my profession, but other professions that kept the city going during this time. To the community, I say thank you for this opportunity of being a Grand Marshal, thank you for the nomination, and just thank you for supporting all frontline workers.
America's hometown heroes were joined by the leaders of McAllen, valued sponsors, and other top dignitaries from across the region. They were riding on 44 illuminated floats that celebrated the South Pole of Texas, each handcrafted by the talented McAllen Float Studio. Award-winning McAllen marching bands, drum lines, and dance teams filled the parade route with musical cheer. The parade also shared the spectacle of the South Pole of Texas tradition, the Vuelta, where over 23 giant character balloons twirled to the world's only balloon-spinning cheer. Another first, our sponsors connected with over 14,000 viewers that texted in to register for the McAllen Holiday Parade Sweepstakes, where many were able to win the season's most desired holiday gifts during the parade. The international holiday celebration was brought to life by thousands of dedicated participants participants, generating millions of advertising impressions and spreading holiday cheer across the nation. The 2020 McAllen Holiday Parade celebrated America's frontline heroes, essential workers who made a difference during a year like no other and gave us all a reason to cheer at the 2020 Interactive McAllen Holiday Parade, presented by HEB and powered by Burt Ogden Fiesta Dealerships, only at the official South Pole of Texas. Christmas reimagined.
The McAllen Holiday Parade History of Tradition continues to be recognized by industry professionals as creative, innovative, and a leader in marketing strategy. The parade was recognized once again as the best parade in the world and Texas for our 2019 production. And throughout the previous year and now, we continue to reach out to our peers to discuss how we are all shifting and responding to the ever-changing event industry. It was really important to us as a team to recognize the many different frontline heroes that have continued to put food on our table, keep us safe, healthy, and bring a sense of normalcy during this time. A call went out to submit frontline heroes that have made a difference in someone's life during this year of many challenges. For this year's event, for the 2020 parade, we honored 140 heroes throughout the event, either walking in the front of the event or also riding different floats throughout the production. We knew that we needed to create interactive ways that would foster those attendee engagements that we've come accustomed to, and through typical elements like Christmas in the Park, which was not possible in 2020, both for the event brand and for our partners. In an effort to enhance the interactive event this year, we created the Parade Sweepstakes. In total, over 14,000 participants sent us text messages in a text-to-win format and received their prizes leading up to or on event day. The sweepstakes, along with the other interactive experience elements, really generated for us that engagement that we would have been missing with the void of live events like Christmas in the Park. The Partner Zone branding opportunities were also a new offering for our partners that had great value. We were able to monetize this, and our partners were given the opportunity to utilize this activation internally within their organization or as an offering to customers to utilize as an additional engagement tool. A positive guest experience was vital this year. We wanted to make sure that those who were participating in person were able to do so comfortably and with safety. We knew that it was vital to implement safety protocols. Throughout the event, we had 7 screening stations for all who participate, internal or external participants, and they were conducted off-site at the South Texas Community College parking lot and also on-site prior to entering the event grounds. There were also reminder signage placed throughout, as well as face masks provided for all participants. Another element that was new for the McAllen Holiday Parade in 2020 was our Floats on Parade. We had a total of 26 float sponsors. Of those, 12 decided to participate in the one-day Floats on Parade event. They were able to have their float at their business location and really make it their own, right in their own backyard, and utilize that as an additional engagement opportunity. In addition, 10 of our float sponsors had their floats displayed at the South Pole Illuminated Drive throughout the remainder of the month. These floats not only provided branding opportunities for each sponsor, but also added an additional enhancement to the drive event. Our sponsors continue to support the event. They find that it's a tradition. It continues to provide them a positive return on their investment, and they have confidence in the McAllen brand and our team in terms of delivering a high-level quality event. The sponsor investment for 2020 was $612,700 with a 73% retention rate from the previous year. Partners who chose to suspend their participation until 2021 generally were those that found themselves with teams still working at home even today, and who, as an organization, had determined they would not be participating in sponsorship opportunities in 2020.
As the parade has evolved, so have the opening ceremonies. In lieu of our 500 MISD student 4th and 5th grade Christmas carolers this year, we added an original production. We did a McAllen Holiday Parade National Anthem that was choreographed by our very own Melba's dance group. The national anthem was produced, written by a local, Maria de Luz, and it was also choreographed in the sky with a laser light and fireworks show. The 2020 McAllen Holiday Parade featured 44 illuminated floats, with all but 3 created by the innovative team at the McAllen Float Studio. We continue to see interest from guests like Texas Citrus Fiesta, Rio Grande Valley Livestock Show, and San Antonio's Fiesta Flambeau. They all supported the Reimagined Parade and led that show with their participation. We continuously foster relationships with like-minded event professionals around the world. The interactive parade also featured 23 giant character balloons, with some continuing the tradition of the Vuelta for those watching at home, a mix of helium and cold air balloons to provide the highest level of presence and engagement while maintaining the predetermined budget for this element. The 680-foot parade route also featured 7 musical performances. Band members continued to wow us with their decorated uniforms and sounds of the holidays. In an effort to reach our attendees in a new way and continue to provide a high return on investment for our partners, we initiated conversations with media partners in new markets like Laredo, Corpus Christi, San Antonio, Dallas, with Nexstar Media Group Multi-Texas Network. These markets included the parade as a delayed or digital broadcast, and we had a total of 83 markets, 6 million regional broadcast impressions, and 39 million national broadcast impressions. The 2 elements of our traditional promotional efforts that continued in 2020 were our 12 billboards that generated 15.2 million impressions, bus wraps that included sweepstakes and a watch from home information, along with brand placement for our top 5 sponsors, generated 5.8 million impressions.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Like, these are all numbers. Are these good, bad, huge? I can't tell because I don't
In
know.
terms of the impression, an impression is the time that somebody has seen something. So when you're talking about 15.2 million impressions on billboards, that means that billboards were seen 15.2 million times in the local market. So those are good numbers.
But, you know, social media and all that stuff, all those numbers are...
The 15.2 million just include the billboards, and then
I was talking as you went along, I was looking at all these numbers, and I couldn't relate to
How do you
whether
gauge
they're
billboards?
good or bad or indifferent.
The billboards are gauged by the amount of traffic that goes through, they have with traffic counts. Right. So traffic counts and times the amount of people that are in vehicles, averaging the amount of days.
I noticed, you know, the president, before he got taken off of Twitter, had like 40,000, 50,000 every time he tweets, so I was just wondering what ours were.
In terms of social media, we did have 8 million digital impressions, less than
That's a lot.
the president did for Twitter. But definitely a lot of impressions for our local market and for our event. We did have 20 different city pages that promoted the event and also broadcasted the event throughout our city platforms, each with its own unique audience. With the addition of the new interactive experience offerings, we're able to create new ways to inspire interest in our brand that we are certain will be long-standing. Our total media investment was $117,000, and for every dollar of media investment, we were able to get $10.18 of additional media value. Our total media impressions were 88.7 million across all mediums, including radio, TV, print, outdoor, and digital platforms. So The 88.7 million is the amount of times that the parade was seen across all platforms via digital print and all of the rest of the platforms that we were using.
So Angie is going to pass out the budget to y'all so y'all can see it. With good planning and in spite of the challenges that we encountered this year with COVID-19, we were able to exceed our budget and be able to produce a parade within budget. And I'll let her go ahead and pass those out to y'all. We started with a $509,600 budget as far as expenditures. We had projected $575,000 in revenues, $509,000 in expenses. As you can see from the report, we were able to generate $627,700 in revenue with expenses of $292,443. And so we had net operational revenue of $210,257.
Great job.
Great job.
Thank you.
I have a quick question on the accounts receivable. Those are rolling, correct?
On the what?
Under the revenues, on sponsorship accounts receivable, that's a rolling account they pay throughout the year?
No, those are expenses that we still have yet to receive for this year.
Oh.
They've been invoiced and they've told us that they are processing their checks, so we have no concerns about receiving those revenues.
But it's not like we have a drop dead deadline you gotta have.
No, sir.
It just has to come in.
We do some payments quarterly and on the larger sponsorships. And so we're working with all of our sponsors. Right now, out of the $602,000 in sponsorships, we've got $146,000 in receivables. One of those is, well, actually, that's like four or five different sponsorships.
Oh, I see.
So it's not a lot of sponsors.
The sponsors were, it was great that they sort of, rode this out with us. Have they been presented with us? What were their thoughts on it?
All of our sponsors were very pleased with the production. And so we feel like we're going to have them back again next year because they've already indicated that to us. And so our first presentation is always to you as a commission, and then we start doing presentations to all of our sponsors.
On the overtime, is that mostly for police and staff?
No, sir. The overtime was for staff. That's staff that worked during the getting ready for the parade. And then the parade day overtime, that was a $15,579. So traditionally, our parade day overtime is about $100,000 to $110,000.
That's why I asked.
And our overtime for parade leading up to the event is about $30,000. But we really cut back this year and just limited what we were doing. We normally built 55 floats. We did 44. And as you know, most of the floats were just redone in a way that it didn't take as much time to get them ready. And so we were able to really cut down our expenses.
Does the hot tanks go back to that fund?
That's correct. That's why we're showing it there. We're not gonna use it.
Okay, very good. Job well done.
Very good.
Congratulations.
Well, Joe, the AR of 146, we're pretty confident we should be getting at least a majority of it.
I beg your pardon?
The accounts receivable of 146, we're pretty confident that it will come in.
Absolutely. These are people that paid last year for their sponsorships. So we don't see a problem in being able to collect that.
They signed a contract.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd also like to point out that McAllen Trade Zone lets us have that building rent-free, and so that saves us quite a bit of money and allows us to keep the operation going 365, and it does that. That's a storage, we pay the taxes.
All the taxes, that's
It's a
right.
rent,
It's basically just the cost neutral.
yeah, it's rent-free, just we pay their actual expenses. So thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Keith.
And great job. I mean, that was fantastic. I mean, it was,
Thank you,
much-
Mayor.
much more than people expended. I knew you were gonna do a great job, but people were blown away by it.
But it was an excellent job, and Commissioners, Mayor, keep this, because, you know, we always get hit with this.
Yes.
The questions.
Yeah, you candidates keep this for in your pocket there, I would suggest.
So, Mayor, just to wrap things up, so quality programs are really what differentiates McAllen from other communities, both here in the Riverine Valley and around the country. So this year, we were able to attract interest in the McAllen Holiday Parade on a national level. So we had Azteca America was excited, and they featured the parade in 81 U.S. markets on Christmas Day prime time. And so the parade was featured in those 81 U.S. markets on Christmas Day with no additional investment from the city. We continue to work with them and others. A national broadcast really places the McAllen Holiday Parade in a position to attract top national brands. And that's something that we want to be able to do. So similar to other top national experiences that dramatically increase sponsorship opportunities. And when I'm talking about other events like this, I'm talking about Macy's, Mardi Gras, New Year's Eve in New York, at Times Square. City of McAllen doesn't have theme parks, and we don't have some of those other attractions that other cities have. But we've been able to develop a series of experiences through our special events here in McAllen. And we're quickly getting national recognition for what we're doing here. And we need to be able to continue to develop these experiences, and we need to be able to plan in advance. We can't wait till 3 months before the event to plan that event. We think we have an opportunity now with the event we just produced to go out and look for national television sponsors to broadcast our parade across the country. And we really need to get your support to be able to move forward with this. So we had some other great events during the month of December with the drive-through event, but we really need to get your go-ahead to be able to continue to do this.
Well, you know, I watched the Macy's Day Parade, and over the years, it's turned into more of a variety show than a parade. I think ours knocked it out of the park as far as Christmas spirit and all that, compared to anything I saw that was offered nationally, so you did a fantastic job.
I was kind of curious on the fireworks, was that used from the budget that was for the 4th of July to do the fireworks for the holiday parade, or?
No,
No, it was something separate.
this was separate, yes.
They're-
We
they're
paid for
different.
that production. Go ahead.
Yeah, there are different types of fireworks
Oh.
that we used here because of the light zone.
Right.
We're not able to use, and
Oh,
the
the height.
proximity, we're not able to use the same type of fireworks.
Got it.
Where was that in the budget? How much that cost?
Yeah, that was all paid for the parade this year, the production, that's all part of the production budget that you see there.
Oh, the stadium production?
Yes, yes, sir.
Oh.
He was ready.
Any questions, comments?
No, they're great. Good job.
Is this going to be Plan A or Plan B, depending? Of course, we don't know. We don't have that crystal ball, but
We don't have that crystal ball, and I guess that's something we're gonna have to look at. The good thing is, we already know that the Plan B works.
yes, it does.
And so that's something that we can certainly do again, and we just need to be able to start planning.
I can just add, switching from the stadium to the convention center was a brilliant idea. For me, I felt there was not a lot of waiting for me personally, with my family. It was a very good experience, through my family, extended family and friends. They all had very good things to say about the production and how it came out across on TV line. So again, good job.
I think the use of the road around the pond, when we did that for McAllen, when they used to have that you can really almost do an event around that somehow.
Exactly.
That's going to be more and more of a tradition. I think that was fantastic.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Thank you. It's 4:57. Anybody got a report for 3 minutes? I don't think so.
We could do that, well, it's up to you, Mayor. We could do that charter pretty quick.
Oh.
Or bring it back next meeting. We got 2 meetings left before the deadline, so it's up to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, we only have, I think it's on the agenda for regular meeting too.
Well, it was a tabled item,
Yeah.
so we were just gonna, we could do that there. We were
That
gonna
was just that
discuss the
one
changes.
addition, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Everything
let's
else
do
is
it
to
there.
remain the same.
Do it in the meeting.
You talking about the charter amendment?
Yeah.
I had one question on that from legal department. The mayor has a veto authority. You're not taking that out, right? You're just
No, it's
clarifying that?
super majority to overturn, Mayor.
So it's, instead of now, just a regular majority could override the mayor's veto, so it'd take a super majority
Yes, sir.
of 4.
Super majority for that, and we also confirmed before the quorum requirement that you
Okay.
mentioned before, that has been corrected as well.
Right, so the only issue really, as decided to clean it up, is whether or not we want to have a charter amendment to have term limits. Is that right?
That's correct, Mayor. That's all that's pending, really.
I say yes.
I'm not running, so I don't care. But
Well,
I
it's a
do think
tabled
that,
item.
Tabled item?
So you can take it.
yeah, it's a tabled item. We only have 2 minutes. I think there's more discussion in 2
Oh, yeah.
minutes, unless somebody wanted to make a motion, but,
You can have it during the meeting.
yeah, okay. So then, is Mr. Pescador here?
Sorry.
No, he was on for discussion, so we'll go ahead and recess, or adjourn the workshop, go to the regular meeting.